Hi guys, my name's Jerry, this is Max, our technical demonstrator, and we've been sent in some questions from you guys to answer regarding Jasic and some of the services we offer, and how we actually go about training people maybe to weld. We're upstairs in our academy, as you can see. You can see a little bit about it. We've got 12 custom bays, everything's set up with all the machinery needed. We have classrooms downstairs, so yeah, basically you can boot yourself in and come and have a bit of a workout on the welding front with Max and the guys. But anyway, here to the questions. I want to become a welder, but I don't know where to start. Do you have any advice? Go on, Max. How did you start?
To be honest, I just kind of fell into it. I suppose the best place to start would probably to be have a go at MIG welding first. It's probably the easiest one to start with, the easiest process to start with for someone who's never done any welding at all, and then from there just progress, maybe move to stick welding, and then eventually finish with TIG, which is probably the most difficult process to get to grips with. But really, it's like anything, practice makes perfect. Just do as much.
And it's fair to say that a lot of the equipment now, it's a lot more advanced. I mean, I started 40 years ago on a YTS. I don't know if any of you guys remember that youth training scheme. £12.50 a week then. But yeah, I started as just on arc welding.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first got our first MIG welder, nobody let us near it. Only the principal welder could use it. And of course he went on holiday, so we all had to do it like, you know, we thought this is easier. Yeah. But it's just come on and on, hasn't it, and developed. So it's quite an interesting field. Next up, anything exciting coming from Jasic in the future? Well, that's my bag, that. Yes, can't say too much about it, but there's a lot of development going on both in UK and our factory in China. We never stop basically, we're always looking for things to innovate, bring new technologies in. So just watch this space, and as soon as we've got anything for you, we'll release it through our fabulous marketing department and take it from there. Can't say too much about that. It's top secret,
yeah, top secret stuff.
Yeah, that boss after us. So, one for you, Max. What gas should I use for MIG welding?
Depends. Yeah, it depends what your process is. If you're welding with steel, an argon CO2 mix is typically what most people weld. I know we do a lot of work with BOC, so
we do.
I'm not sure of other brands, but with BOC they do an Argoshield Light, which is thinner material. They do Argoshield Universal, which is like a general purpose. It'll do a bit of the thinner stuff, a bit of the thicker stuff, like a general purpose MIG gas. And then they do the Argoshield Heavy, which is specifically formulated for thicker sections of steel, typically over 10mm thick. But there's a whole range of different gases. If you're welding aluminium, you can use pure argon, or you can use argon helium mixes. Stainless steel, oxygen.
And all these mixes of gases enhance what you're doing. With the helium for aluminium, it actually wets up the material very quickly. You can actually achieve it with a machine, but you can do it with the gas as well. So it gets you nice and hot and ready to rock and roll. Now then, can I buy products directly from Jasic UK or Wilkinson Star? No, we only operate through a large distribution network. We have friends in the UK and in Europe. We back what they do. So any of our services are available through our principals, but you've got to go through that route because they're the guys every day that you can fold up and you want 3 reels of wire, or you want some tungstens, or we're not set up to do that. We move in bulk. So yeah, you get all our services through your distributor network, but you've got to go through those guys first of all. Okay. Do you offer product training if I purchase a machine?
We do. We offer that through our demonstration service. So this can be done before you purchase the machine. I can come out and give you a bit of a demonstration on how the machine operates and how you can get the best out of the machine. But you can also do this after as well. If you decide that you want to purchase a machine, you need it quite quickly, and you can get a demonstration organised as quickly as you desire. You can purchase it, and then you can always get in contact with your distributor and they can get on to me and we can organise it at a later date. There are certain machines that we won't demonstrate, however, the smaller machines.
The basic machines.
Yeah.
Obviously because it's time, there's a lot of time involved with demonstrations, and believe me, when these guys, and there's a team of them, get with you on a demonstration, you'll know how to drive the machine and you'll have some technique as well. But we can always enhance that at a later date and come into the academy. We do all the codings up here, all the certification. We can take it to any level that you want to go to. I'm a MIG welder and want to learn TIG welding. Can you recommend a good machine for beginners to TIG weld with? So, hang on a minute, have we got a 200, 202A? There we go. So, this is a 200 amp single phase, analog, as you can see, all your controls are on the front.
Yep.
We do the digital version as well. People tend to like these because when they're experimenting, if they move something and it's not right, they can normally just jump straight back and move it back where it was. So it's like a process of elimination. But this is on a trolley with a water cooler. You can buy it just as an individual air cool machine, and it is single phase. Do you want to add something to that, Max?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good one to start with, particularly if you've not done any TIG welding before. It's an AC/DC, so if you do want to weld aluminium, you know, you've got that ability to go on and do that in future, should I say. But to start with just the DC side of it, you know, it's got pulse on there, so you can experiment with that. You know, it's kind of a good price machine to start with if you've never done it before, and you know, there's a lot of features on there that you can play about with, and then if you did want to invest in like a digital or something a bit more advanced further down the line,
the digital here. Yeah. It's its sister, if you like, exactly the same machine. But it's a digital version, so it's like using your phone, your iPhone. You can just go through it, everything's lit up like a tree, and it's easy to follow around. So it all depends where you've come from, what you've seen, what you've used maybe, or what you've seen your mates with. So, but there's two options there, and it's part of a family. So we have a 300 amp version as well, a multi-wave. They're all on the same size trolley, they're all on the same coolers, so we can sort it out any which way you want. If you start being successful and you start getting work for the thicker materials, then we've got the 300 version as well. These are good for up to about 5-6 mil.
Yeah, well,
maybe a bit
I'd probably
more.
say probably 5-6 mil. Yeah, maybe a bit more. Obviously, if you start prepping your material correctly and things like that, you might be able to get a bit more out of it.
And you can put coolers on them when you water cool torch, because that's what you want to keep cool. And if you're doing a lot of it, it'll just enhance the duty cycle a little bit more of your torch.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me more about the 5-year warranty? Is it legit? Well, yes it is. We've been operating the 5-year warranty now for 8 years. And basically, when you purchase your equipment from your distributor, first thing you'll see inside, comprehensive instruction book with a registration card. Now what we ask that you do with that is within so many 30 days or whatever, go online, it's very, very simple, register it, then what happens then is you automatically get the extra 3 years, so you've got a full 5 years. What that covers is the machine itself. You can't cover torches for 5 years because you drop them or you run over them, and I've done that a few times. Regulators, they eventually want changing, but what we do cover is the internals, all the boards inside the machines, which are very sophisticated. They go down of their own accord, then we will fix it. All it's got to do is come back to us. And believe me, you know, these guys in our service department, they can turn these machines around within the day. The longest it takes is for it to come back to Star here in Manchester, or to go back to you, the customer, because of the carriers. But they're very, very quick. Everything gets fixed in-house. Nothing gets sent away. We have all the technology down in our Jasic repair workshops. We do all the boards. Maybe someday we'll do a bit of filming down there and we'll show you exactly, not everything, but what we actually get, get about the boards. Everything's done in-house, so nothing leaves site. If you run into it with a stacker truck, drop it off a piece of scaffolding, which can happen, then, you know, probably still work, but you need to just be mindful that you might have to pay for a panel or two or whatever. But we can always talk about that, but it's a true 5-year warranty, and that has been part of the major success of what Jasic's about in the UK and Europe now. You know, and obviously it's backed up with all our stock, so we're never too far away from any machines. Now then, can I explain the benefit of pulse MIG welding? I can't, but Max can.
Yeah.
He's better at it than me.
So pulse MIG welding, really the main benefits of it is increased productivity, really, from a business aspect. The actual the way that pulse works is it's a non-contact method of transferring material to the actual weld pool. When you weld in dip transfer like conventional MIGs, the wire is in contact with the base material and it short circuits, and when that wire hits the weld pool it causes spatter to collect on the plate, and obviously that's a waste of material, but also it takes a lot of time then having to clean the weld up after you've finished the weld. With pulse, because it is a non-contact method of transferring the material to the weld pool, you don't get that spatter. It certainly reduces the amount of spatter that you get, and when it's set up correctly you virtually get no spatter at all, so
that's right.
it can be very good from a productivity standpoint. It also reduces heat input into materials, so materials that are prone to heat distortion such as stainless steel, you can reduce the amount of distortion that you get when you use it correctly, because it does reduce the heat input that you put into the material. Pulse welding, it alternates between a higher setting, higher amperage, wire feed, speed and voltage, and then a lower setting, whereas with a conventional standard MIG you're constantly at the peak welding setting throughout its
so the heat's there all the time.
So the heat's there all the time, yeah. So with the pulse it just gives you that little bit extra control. It just allows you to control the heat input into the material.
Also, am I right in saying, Max, that you can help the aesthetic, the finished
Absolutely.
weld look?
Yeah.
You get the fish scale type deposit and everything else.
Yeah, with our double pulse function on the 350 pulse MIG, you can really fine tune the welding process. A lot of people quote like a TIG finish with a MIG process. And you can achieve that with a double pulse function because you can really control the pulses and you can get that kind of ripple effect that you would get typically with a TIG weld. You won't get it as small as a TIG weld, but you can certainly get that kind of really pleasing, nice aesthetic finish with a pulse MIG weld.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, you can see a lot of our YouTube videos as well.
Yeah, we've got quite a few
tutorials. Max has been doing them with our Tom and filming them. And there's quite a lot going on. There'll be a lot more. It takes time, but it gives you little shortcuts with the machines, little tips and everything else that you might find useful when you've got your machine in the workshop and you want to try a few different things out. So how do I know what my peak amperage should be when TIG welding?
It's a difficult
one. How long's a piece of string, isn't
it? It is a difficult one, that. Generally I've always been worked off the rule that I was told when I was learning, which for welding steel, stainless steel, you want to be working at about 30 to 35 amps per millimetre thickness of material. So if you're welding a piece of 3mm, a good start point is about 90 amps, but that can vary greatly depending on the joint type.
Prep.
The prep, yeah, the prep that you're welding with, the size of the job that you're working on. You know, if you're working on a really small piece, it's not going to hold the heat as well as if you're working on a really big fabrication. Like I say, the best advice I can give you is just practice, see what works for yourself, but generally a good start point is about 30 to 35 amps per millimetre thickness of material, and that is just a start point. From there you can tweak it up and down. Every operator is different. Some people like to travel at a faster travel speed, so they might require a slightly higher amperage. Yeah. Some people might want to travel slightly slower, they might want to reduce that, but obviously with any kind of given thickness there is it's like an optimal range for amperage. Obviously you can have it set too slow and you end up putting too much heat in the you have the amperage set too low and you end up having to travel too slow, and that ends up working against you. So it's practice, really.
Yeah, it's like everything, Max. Yeah. What you said, it's practice. Yeah. You know, if you're doing it every day, we're going workshops and fabrication companies, and these dudes are doing it 8-9 hours a day, and they rattle it out. I mean, I've seen TIG welders go as quick as what a pulse MIG can go, and the end result is fantastic, but it's repetitive all the time. You know, so
experience is definitely knowledge in welding, 100%.
It is. Now then, is welding dangerous? Well,
it can be.
It can be, yeah.
It can be very dangerous, actually.
You need to be aware of your environment and your surroundings, really. You know, obviously keep flammable things away from where you're welding. Make sure you cover up, especially if you're doing auto vehicles and things like that. Make sure you disconnect any electrical systems, because they're very sophisticated cars now. Make sure you cover up your glass, your wings. So you've just got to be really tidy and be mindful of where you're actually welding. Obviously, if you're in a vessel or something like that, you've got to make sure it's been well ventilated. Don't just dive in there when they just emptied about 500 litres of dirt out of it. You really need to prep right and make sure everything's good. And keep some fire blankets around, keep some fire extinguishers, and cover yourself up, because especially if you're doing aluminium, if you're plasma cutting or tigging, you might think, oh, I'm going to do a small weld, so I'm not bothered with gloves. Believe me, you'll burn. The glare off it is tremendous, so obviously keep yourselves well protected as well. And we explain all this when you come to the academy. There's a couple of hours on health and safety.
Yeah, usually in the first day of the course,
it's all health and safety,
we do cover a health and safety PowerPoint presentation.
We have to do that by law, guys.
Yeah.
It's not because we want to. We have to do that. So you go away with a good understanding of what you're up against, and that has to be done.
Yeah. The big thing at the moment as well, obviously, is the ventilation.
Yeah, fume
extraction.
Good point.
Air-fed welding helmets and things like that. The big one is protecting your breathing and your lungs at the moment.
And not only the dudes that are welding, but obviously the secondaries people. If you're in a workshop, people are walking around. It's all right, you having your welding helmet on, with air-fed welding helmet on, but these guys are walking into that area, so there's a big movement for that, and quite rightly so, by all sorts of systems, and we do them through our F-Tech brand. So have a look online, you'll see all sorts of options there as well. And lastly, can I arrange a demo before I buy a machine? Well,
we've already covered that.
Yeah, it all depends how much they'll pay you, innit?
It is, yeah. Like I said earlier, with regards to the question about the product training on the machine, demonstrations are something that we offer to any of our customers in the UK and Ireland as well.
It's important because some of these machines they do need a little bit of explanation, and we're not saying you guys can't work it out, but it's always great if somebody's there that has the knowledge, and it saves a lot of frustration, a lot of time. A couple of hours with these dudes and they can really show you what it's all about, and you're not starting at ground zero with a brand new machine and wondering. Yeah? All right, mate?
Yeah. Cheers, Jerry.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you for helping me out. Cheers. Thanks, guys, for watching this video, and please check out our YouTube channel and all the tutorials we've got on there. And obviously, we do a lot of branding on there as well with new products and things like that. And that's a good place to look for the new Jasic products when we launch them. Thanks very much indeed.